So, hello everyone. In the previous chapter, we have learned about the revenue cycle and expenditure cycle. So, ngayon naman, we will discuss about conversion cycle, which is nakapaloob sa ating chapter 7. So here are the objectives for Chapter 7. Understand the basic elements and procedures encompassing a traditional production process, understand the data flows and procedures in traditional cost accounting system, be familiar with the accounting tools and controls found in the traditional environment, understand the principles, operating features, and technologies that characterize lean manufacturing, understand the shortcomings of traditional accounting methods in the world-class environment, be familiar with the features of activity-based costing and value streaming accounting. Be familiar with the information systems commonly associated with lean manufacturing and world-class companies. So let us start the discussion with defining conversion cycle. It transforms input resources, raw materials, labor, and overhead into finished products or services for sale. So it is the process wherein raw materials are converted into finished good ready for sale. So the best example for this is in a manufacturing business. Sardines are being processed to make canned goods. So the canned goods now is an example of finished goods. So the conversion cycle was being composed by two subsystems, physical activities. It talks about the production processes itself, information activities, denoted by the cost accounting system, wherein you are going to monitor the financial effects on the production processes, wherein ano dapat ang mga gagawin kung sakaling tumaas or bumaba ang expenses natin in producing those products. The conversion cycle in relation to other cycles. So as we can see on the diagram, conversion cycle interacts with other business cycles, which is the revenue and expenditure cycle. If we generate income or revenue from the revenue cycle, we can be able to spend for the production. From marketing system, we need sales forecast for us to determine the expected demand for the production. So from that, we are going to create production plan which drives production activities. We need purchase requisition for the production objective and labor usage for the payroll system, which is under the expenditure cycle. So the work in process and finished goods na magagaling sa conversion cycle ay forwarded sa general ledger and financial reporting system. So let us talk about the production methods. Number one is the continuous processing. Creates a homogeneous product through a continuous series of standard procedures. So when we say homogeneous, it means one variable only. So it entails one product only. Number two is but the batch processing produces discrete groups of products. So we're in individually separated siya or distinct product. Number three is make to order processing. It involves the fabrication of discrete products in accordance with the customer specifications. So the best example for this is pag may nag-order sa'yo ng spaghetti. So sabi ng customer, ganito kadami, lagyan mo ng maraming cheese and hotdog. So from that, in accordance siya sa ating customer specifications. The production system. It involves the planning, scheduling, and control of the physical product through the manufacturing process, determining the raw materials requirements. So, kung ilan ang kailangang raw materials to process a product. Authorizing the release of raw materials into production, authorizing work to be done conducted in the production process, directing the movement of work through the various stages of production. So wherein there is a separation of work, iba sa purchasing, iba sa processing, and at the same time, iba naman sa packaging of goods. So we have here the overview of traditional batch production model, and it is consists of four basic processes. Number one is the plan and control production. So dito, magplano muna bago sa production of goods. Perform production operations. Dito naman, ipaprocess natin yung mga raw materials into finished goods. Maintain inventory control. So, we are authorized on the inventory hanggang sa mabenta ito o ma-deliver ito sa customer. Perform cost accounting. So, we are to determine what is the cost of producing those products and what actions are needed to decrease the expenses and increase the revenue of the business. Here are the documents in the batch production system. Sales forecast, expected demand for the finished goods. So, in sales forecast, it will give us the idea kung ilan ang pwedeng i-produce at kayang i-produce na product. Production schedule, production plan and authorization to produce. So it describes a specific product to be produced, the quantity of products needed, and what time when we are going to produce it. Bill of materials specifies the types and quantities of raw materials and sub-assemblies used to produce a single finished good unit. So, dito naman, it focuses on the quantity of raw materials to be used, and it is determined by the bill of materials multiplied by the number of batches. Route sheet details the production path a particular batch will take in the manufacturing process. So, sa pag-manufacture ng isang product, meron tayong sinusunod na sequence and at the same time, yung time allocated at each station. So work order uses the bill of materials and route sheet to specify the exact materials and production processes for each batch. Move ticket records work done in each work center and authorizes the movement of the batch. Materials requisition authorizes the inventory warehouse to release raw materials for use in the production process. So sa materials requisition, the warehouse will not release anything kung hindi dumaan sa materials requisition, wherein ang mga materials na yon ay siyang gagamitin sa production. The batch production system. So, production planning and control. It includes materials and operations requirements and at the same time production scheduling. Materials and operation requirements. Materials requirement, the difference between what is needed and what is available in the inventory. Operation requirements, the assembly and manufacturing activities to be applied to the product. So, it is based sa flow of production or yung route sheet na na-discuss natin kanina. Production scheduling coordinates the production of multiple batches. It influenced by time constraints, batch size, and other specifications. So, dito pumapasok ang bill of materials and route sheet. It will also produce the work order, move ticket, and the materials requisition. Work center and storekeeping. Production operation begins when work centers obtain raw materials from storekeeping. It ends with the completed product being sent to the finished goods warehouse. So dito mag-start ang production wherein work centers will obtain raw materials from the warehouse. Pagkatapos ay may completed products tayo or finished goods which will be sent to the finished good warehouse. The inventory control. So the objective of this inventory control is to minimize the total inventory cost while ensuring that adequate inventories exist on the production demand. So there are three activities in the inventory control. So wherein it provides production planning and control with status of finished goods and raw materials inventory. It continually updates the raw materials inventory during the production process, and upon the completion of production, it updates the finished goods inventory. So a method that is used in the inventory model is the EOQ inventory model. So these are the assumptions. Very simple to use, but assumptions are not always valid. Demand is known and constant. Ordering lead time is known and constant. Total cost per year or placing orders decreases as the order quantities increase. Carrying cost of the inventory increases as quantity of orders increases. No quantity discounts. As a summary of the previous slides, this shows the physical activities of the production. As we can see sa planning and control, naroon ang sales forecast from marketing department. Meron din yung mga documents needed in the production like production schedule, bill of materials, route sheet, work order, move ticket, and materials requisitions. So after that, it will be forwarded at the work centers where the production and operation takes place. Pagkatapos, pupunta siya sa warehouse or storekeeping department wherein dun ilalagay lahat ng finished goods which will fall under the inventory control. So upon the completion of the production process and at dahil may finished product na tayo, yung mapupunta na siya sa finished goods warehouse. Yung closed work order ay mapupunta sa inventory control, and after that, the status report of the raw materials and finished good will be known under the production plan and control. And of course, from the transaction of the business, magkakaroon tayo ng entries. We will have the journal voucher under the general ledger. And since tapos na tayo sa physical activities, let us now move on sa information activities known as the cost accounting system. The cost accounting system records the financial effects of the events occurring in the production process initiated by the work order. So dito, the production runs begins when the production planning and control department sends a copy of the original work order. So cost accounting clerk creates a new cost record for the batch and files in work in process file. The records are updated as materials and labors are used. So dito, the materials and labors are added throughout the production process. Documents reflecting these events flow to the cost accounting department. So here are the elements of the cost accounting system. We have the inventory control, which includes the materials requisition, which will be used by the cost accountants to account for the direct materials. The work centers, which includes the job tickets and completed move ticket. This will be the basis of the cost accountants for them to account and update the work in process, direct labors, direct materials, manufacturing overhead, and compute for the variances. Receipt of the last move ticket signals completion of the production process. The clerk removes the cost sheet from work in process file, prepares a journal voucher to transfer the balance to a finished goods inventory account and forwards to the general ledger department. So as we have mentioned a while ago, the move ticket is an element of the cost accounting department because the work is done for the production and it is authorizes the movement of the cost accounting. Internal controls. So in transaction authorizations, uh, we have the procedures in the conversion cycle. Work orders wherein it reflects the legitimate need based on the sales forecast and the finished goods on hand. Uh, the production planning and control authorizes it in order for us to meet the production requirement and at the same time to proceed into the next process of production. Next is the move ticket. Signatures from each workstation authorize the movement of the batch through the work centers. So the move ticket is being signed by the supervisor who authorizes the movement of products through various work centers. Number three is the materials requisition. Authorize the warehouse to release uh, materials to the work center. So it authorizes the storekeeper to release materials to the work center. And so with the requisition of materials, the storekeeper will not release anything unless there is the document of the materials requisition. Segregation of duties. Production planning and control department is separate from the work center. So the production planning and control department is segregated from the work centers. Uh, the duties of its employee should be segregated, most especially production of goods, in order for us to avoid fraud, because there is a possibility that we may have misappropriation of asset. That is why we need to segregate the duties of each employee. Inventory control is separate from materials storeroom and finished goods warehouse. So always remember that raw materials should be segregated from finished goods, most especially kung ang product natin ay madaling masira. Mas mainam kung segregated ang mga ito in order for us to avoid defective products. Cost accounting function accounts for the work in process and should be separate from the work centers in the production process. Uh, the recording falls under the cost accounting department, wherein input will be given by the work centers. As to supervision naman, work center supervisors oversee the usage of raw materials to ensure that all released materials are used in the production and waste is minimized. Employee time cards and job tickets are checked for accuracy. So the supervisor has the responsibility to supervise the release of materials from the storeroom to check whether if it is used correctly in the production to avoid and minimize expenses. They are also responsible in the employee time cards of and job tickets. They are responsible in approving it so that it can be a valid source of the payroll. Sa access control naman, meron tayong direct and indirect access to assets. Unahin natin ang direct access to assets. So, controlled access to storerooms, production work center, and finished goods warehouses. Quantities in excess of standard amounts require approval. So, in here, we are given the authority and access in our assets, most especially in the inventories of the business. Like, for example, the storeroom keeper, he has the access control of the assets wherein hindi siya basta-basta magre-release ng materials kung walang valid documents. Sa indirect naman, like we have said a while ago, hindi natin makukuha ang isang assets. We cannot have access to it if there is no source documents na ipapakita. So meron tayong accounting records such as pen-numbered documents, work orders, cost sheets, move tickets, job tickets, materials requisition, work in process, and finished goods files. So these are the documents that we should have in the process of production. These are the valid sources which will help the flow of production good and free from error. Dito naman sa independent verification, cost accounting reconciles material usage and labor usage with standards. So it verifies the cost accounting records and checking it for us to have a reliable source of information. Variances are investigated. The General Ledger Department verifies movement from work in process to finished goods by reconciling journal vouchers from cost accounting and inventory subsidiary ledgers from inventory control. So, kailangan natin ng verification kasi may mga na-forward tayo sa finished goods na hindi pa natatanggal sa work in process. So, dapat i-maintain natin yung balance. Internal and external auditor periodically verify the raw materials and finished goods inventories through a physical count. So, verification of materials and finished goods is very helpful in the company in the way that the management will be able to maintain efficiency. So, here's the summary of internal controls. And I hope na nagkaroon tayo ng broader knowledge in the process of production, pati sa physical activities and information activities.